Here's how to factor using the distributive property. Basically, what we want to do is to break down the polynomial 5x squared plus 10x into two or more quantities that it multiplies to. In other words, what are the factors of this whole polynomial? If I were to multiply, what would I have to multiply to get this? So it's basically the distributive property in reverse. I want to ask myself, what is the largest number and what is the greatest number of variables that goes into both 5x squared and 10x? And looking at the 5 and the 10, I know that both 5 and 10 are both divisible by 5. So 5 is going to go outside the parentheses. And now I look at the x's. I have an x squared and an x, and the greatest number of x's that I can divide both of those by is 1x, or x to the first power. And now inside the parentheses, I'll have what's left when I take 5x squared and divide it by 5x. Or another way to say that is, what do I have to multiply 5x times to get 5x squared? And that would be an x. And then I'll add a plus. And now what do I have to multiply 5x times to get 10x? And that would be a 2. So the factored form of 5x squared plus 10x is 5x times the quantity x plus 2. If you want to check, you basically just distribute. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 2 is 10x. And if I get back what I started with, then my answer is correct. Let's take a look at another example. 5a squared b minus 15a squared b squared plus 5a squared b. So this is a trinomial. I have three terms, and I need to figure out what is the biggest term that will go into all of these. So let's start by looking at the coefficients. I have a 5, a negative 15, and another positive 5. The largest number that will go into both of those is 5. Let's look at our a's. I have an a squared in my first term, an a squared in my second term, and an a squared in my third term. So I can divide each of those terms by an a squared. Now let's look at our b's. My first term has 1b, my second term has a b squared, and my third term was actually supposed to have a b cubed. So my third term has a b cubed. The greatest number of b's I can take out of each of those is 1b. So my greatest common factor of each of those three terms is 5a squared b. Now we got to figure out what's going to be left in the parentheses. What do I have to multiply this 5a squared b times to get 5a squared b? That's a little confusing, but it actually is a 1, and you have to have a 1 there. Think of it this way. When I go back and distribute, I have to multiply 5a squared b times 1 to get 5a squared b. Now, what do I have to multiply 5a squared b times to get a negative 15a squared b squared? And that's going to be a negative 3 to give me my 15. There's already an a squared there, but I'm going to need another b. And lastly, what do I need to multiply 5a squared b times to get 5a squared b cubed? Well, there's already a 5 there. There's already an a squared, but I need to multiply it by b squared. So remember, to check, what I would want to do is distribute and see, do I get what I started with? And that's going to give me a 5a squared b minus 15 a squared b squared plus 5 a squared b cubed. So indeed it does check. So the factored form of my original polynomial is 5a squared b times the quantity 1 minus 3b plus b squared.